All right, welcome to the Unalienable, right? Ladies and gentlemen, a big night as we are getting ready to talk all things Kevin McCarthy, live on Rumble, live on Getter, live on ScrewTube, live on Twitter, and also live on Instagram at Dr. Cordie Williams, at Shawn Farash. We are ready to rock and roll. We're talking McCarthy. We're going to talk about the amount of athletes who are dropping suddenly out of nowhere. That's a big one. We're going to talk about some of our Cordie and I were talking locally about what's going on. We're going to talk also about any of the journalists, Paul Sperry in particular, who was suspended from Twitter. And one of the first people ever to criticize and speak about Dr. Fauci. So let's start with Kevin McCarthy. But before we do that, let's go to my good friend from California. He's got the experience, Dr. Cordie Williams. Doc, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, and the echo started a little bit, so I turned my earpiece off, some of my stuff. But if it's not happening for them, I'm not going to worry about it. But no, it's there's so much to talk about just regarding McCarthy because, it's blowing up online. Anybody that's kind of been watching the news can see that today, that it's blowing up online. The big thing that I'm perplexed by is, you and I are the biggest Trump fans in the world. And I think anyone could say that. I think our records, so to speak, indicate that. But I'm blown away how the Trump following should not be a following that is Trump first. It should be a following that is America Constitution first. And I love the man. I adore him. So I'm a diehard Trump guy. So I don't, I'm not telling anybody I'm backing down from Trump.
Excuse me. That's because you're a fantastic person, a wonderful guy, and a very good-looking guy. I have to say, you're a wonderful person. But you're from California, just like Kevin McCarthy. But you have to say you don't like him. He's not a great guy. And so we know about it.
Well, and I'm going to try to affect. Say something real quick, Shawn. We'll do sound real quick to see if we. I just wanted to see if I could fix it.
I'm going
to
fix it right now. I think with this, I'm going to do a double headphone deal here.
A double headphone deal. I love that. Well, we're trying to take out the echo we're hearing. I don't think you guys are hearing an echo anymore. But no, what I was going to say is just that I think that there's this cult-like following that almost, I think, people would choose Trump over sometimes the Constitution. And I don't mean that. I don't mean that about our friends and people we admire and some of our followers, but that's like some of the feedback I'm getting online, dude. People are like, dude, how can you go against Trump? I did a Facebook Live this morning. I'm not going against Trump. I want to be really clear about that. I'm just playing devil's advocate and asking a question, even asking a question, some people are attacking me, of saying, this is insane. That a guy that literally said you should resign on January 6th, that we're backing him. Now, are there political implications? Are there conversations I don't know about? Yes, but like I said in my live this morning, Shawn, it's like, when the abuser beats his wife or his husband or his kid, believe him the first time. People don't just magically go home. The abused always says, well, he's not going to do it again. He didn't mean it. And that's grasping for breadcrumbs is what I say.
Yes.
People show their true colors when they show them the first time. When I stole from you once, it's only a matter of time before I'm going to do it again. Do I believe in God's gospel and do I believe that we should forgive? Yes, we could forgive, but we should never forget. And I think that just everything we're seeing with this guy in California, everybody synonymously knows Kevin McCarthy is a scumbag. Everybody synonymously knows that he's voted Democrat, and everything that Matt Gaetz said yesterday was true, was 100% true. Now, is this political theater, meaning are they just trying to get multiple rounds as a marketing scheme, whether it's Gaetz or Laura Boebert or the whole crew that's behind this, the 20 that are behind this? Maybe. But scumbag McCarthy's literally failed 7 times. You have Hannity, chiming in yesterday, and then Gingrich is chiming in, and now Tucker Carlson said a few minutes ago on the Gateway Pundit that a deal might be reached.
Yeah.
And Shawn, I'm blown away by this, and the only thing I can pull away from this is, God help us if we as a movement can't get behind. I mean, I don't see a difference between the Hakeem guy and Kevin McCarthy. I don't see a difference between Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, because it's like we were saying off the air today, and I'm heated about this because, you know, do you want to walk into communism or socialism slow or fast? Does it really matter when all our freedoms are taken away? And that's the cold hard fact that so many people need to start grappling with.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I agree with you. I mean, like it's what do you wanna go quickly? Do you wanna rip the Band-Aid off and just go straight into socialism, straight into communism? When you look at when you look at Hakeem Jeffries or Nancy Pelosi or AOC, or do you want to kind of be led in nice and slow, nice and easily by Kevin McCarthy? One way or the other, it's not a good look for our country. And I said it this morning on LFA. Basically, we were talking about McCarthy and some concessions that he's going to have to make. And you and I were talking about before the show about concessions that he was going to have to make as well. And essentially concessions that, you know, maybe these 20 Republicans who right now are holding the line 7 votes in will get their way and then cave and say, well, we fought for this and we got this and we're fighters, like you said, we're fighters, and then they'll get reelected. Well, they were the 20 who stood up to McCarthy, so they'll get reelected in their really deep red districts. But at the end of the day, we still get screwed because Kevin McCarthy is still the guy in charge of the House of Representatives. We need those concessions to be not, I don't want to say extreme, but they have to be drastic. I mean, I need to know that if Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the House, that a MAGA America First Republican representative, congresswoman, congressman, is at the chair of every single House committee. Every single one, whether it's the most powerful committee, the House Judiciary, or it's anything along on the way down. I want people who are ready to take action. I don't want, we're going to use that term that we've used before. I'm going to use that term. I don't want a jellyfish, spineless, squishy Congress to take hold for the next 2 years and waste all of the opportunities. And we don't have to look for crimes. We don't have to investigate people in search of crimes. We know what Hunter Biden did. We know what he did. We know that Ilhan Omar married her brother. We know that. We know she committed immigration fraud. We know that Nancy Pelosi is an inside trader. We know that Joe Biden sold influence and is probably still selling influence to the White House. We know the laundromat that is Ukraine, and that the House of Representatives essentially for the last 2 years has functioned as the central bank of Ukraine, where a foreign flag flew in our capital. You know, I mean, we know all of these things. We don't have to search. We don't have to demand somebody's tax returns and release them to the public, and what a nothing burger that was. But we don't have to do those things. We know exactly what it is that we can do. We have all the information on our side. We know that guys like Adam Schiff, the Biden administration, levied and pressured social media companies to censor journalists like Paul Sperry, to censor users like James Woods, like you, like me. We know this took place. We know that the FBI used Twitter as a de facto field office. But I'm afraid that if Kevin McCarthy takes the speakership, if Kevin McCarthy is elected to this role as Speaker of the House, and he does not swear, promise on his soul, on everything holy, that he will put a real America First conservative Republican in charge of every House committee, I'm afraid that we're going to go nowhere over the next 2 years, and that can't happen.
No, I think I'm just pausing this. I think if I would have had Do Not Disturb on, we would have avoided a lot of that, a lot of the reverb. So the whole time it might have been my fault. At any rate, no, I think everything you said is on point. And I was just wanting to go like this and clap because it couldn't be more beautifully said. And what I would say is, we've got some big problems in this country, and some of those big problems, I think, revolve around how socialized we've become, how ignorant we've become with the electronics, the TV, like so much of the content of what we know is the opinions of other people, where we've been taught not to critically think. And I went into that. I'm taking that angle for a second because, I respectfully mean this to all the people that voted for me, right?
Right.
There is a lot of dumb voters out there. There is a lot of stupid voters. There are a lot of people that have a vote and have a say in this country that have no clue how the country functions, how their government functions, and the sliminess that goes on behind closed doors. And that is the intentional byproduct of people that we foolishly elected, that were swimming in the swamp because they were a nice guy, because they wore a nice tie, or they had a great look, or they were attractive, or they were charismatic, or whatever the case might be. And years of people making deals and watering down their moral convictions, their ethics, has left you with a swamp of people with no too little character. And the thing that I heard from a federal standpoint when I was running for office here, Shawn, is, all the time, well, we have to do this. This is the politically correct decision, or the right political move. Well, we have to do this, or this will happen. And I think it's so true and pertinent what people say about the longer you're in the swamp, you become the swamp. And I think it really goes well to really truly explain the benefits of term limits, because there is a time when every man or woman, by nature of the political machine and what politics naturally does, where there will be a point where so many deals are made where you will look in the mirror and you will say, I don't even recognize that person anymore. And we would hope that people wouldn't do that, but that's just the nature of human beings. And I do think that some of these people started off saying, oh, I'm doing this for my country. When I get there, it'll be different. I won't do what he did. And even these pork barrel type of bills that where there's literally like the omnibus,
Yeah.
the bill with all the pork in it, which is every bill.
$1.7 trillion omnibus bill, which, by the way, did you hear what they did with that bill, by the way?
No, but I just had dyslexia and I couldn't speak. But no, what?
The $1.7 trillion omnibus bill, right, had to be signed by Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden had to be, of course, vacationing in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So they flew it. Speaking of the carbon tax, 4,000 pages. They loaded 4,000 pages onto an airplane and brought it to Joe Biden. But they care about these are the people that want to tell you that the polar bears are going to die because of private jet travel. Meanwhile, they flew not even people that were alive. They flew documents.
And how many Republicans supported that?
Enough that got through. Well, you had a Republican. You had you had enough Republicans, I believe, in the Senate that supported it. Well, you don't even need that. Democrats control the Senate and the House, so the Republicans didn't have to. But there were enough. Right. Lindsey Graham, for instance, voted for it. Rand Paul did not. So we know the ones that we are expecting to fight for us and the ones that aren't expected to fight for us.
Well, and it just goes to say and show us that, I honestly believe, to come full circle with this, and this is for my viewers and followers, and maybe I lost some today, and I don't care. I'm being heavily censored anyway, so numbers always stay the same. But I would just say that if we're so tied in, if our allegiance is less about God and country, and more about, I'll say, to use a Christian term, these false gods that we create. Do I love Trump? Yes.
Yeah.
Has Trump been a man I've respected forever? Yes.
Yes.
Did I lose $250,000 in the pursuit of trying to help Trump get reelected, spread Trump's name, get people to vote for Trump? activism against COVID, all that. Yes, of course I did. And I almost lost my family in the process. So you and I, and people like you and I, there's so many out there that aren't even getting the recognition that you and I have gotten, that have done a lot, right?
Yep.
But we're not so cultish to say that something's amiss out of some of these decisions that are being made, whether it's backing McCarthy, then he kind of doubled down and he came against Byron Donaldson today, Byron Donalds, excuse me.
Yep.
Tonight he did. And I'm not saying I'm against Trump. I would still vote for Trump in a heartbeat. I love Trump. But I would love to know, I wish we could have the Trump 2016 Trump where he would explain this move.
Yeah.
But we're somehow like it's public knowledge why he did this, because there's so many problems that come out of this, and in all the scenarios we lose. I mean, I feel like this speaker's race is kind of a moral battle of sorts for the grassroots conservative, because between Kerry Lake 2020 election, I mean, I feel some holes in our armor. Like, how many times can we keep telling people to vote? Yeah, of course you should vote. Are you and I going to do it? Yeah, but we can't speak for everybody that's disenfranchised. We certainly can't speak for all the people that were told to get the shot. There's so many things that we could talk about regarding these issues of just where people are disenfranchised. And now if we can't keep Kevin McCarthy out, there is no difference between the red and blue swamp.
Right, no, there's none. It's what they call the uniparty. And look, I will say this. When it comes to Trump, and I love him, and I love him for multiple reasons, not just so I can sound like him, but I love him. I think he was somebody who just burst onto the scene in 2016, related to the everyday person. Really, for those of us in New York, for who speak like that. We act like he does. We're jerks sometimes. We're crass. We're very in your face, and there were things that he said about Hillary Clinton. Crooked Hillary, that's what we call her, crooked. She's crooked from the beginning. That I always wanted to say about her, right? I always wanted her. I wanted to be on that debate stage and look at her and go, You'd be in jail. I want to, I love it. Yeah. I love what he did at the Al Smith dinner. But I said this also on LFA TV this week, and essentially it was that while I love Trump, while I think he's great, he's a human, I'm a human, you're a human, which means all of us, somewhere, as hard as it might be to believe, have flaws. None of us are perfect. The only perfect being that we know is God. That's it. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's a sinner. Everybody's flawed. Okay? And with that being said, there is a segment of people who believe that Donald Trump can do no wrong. He is not a perfect person. He's very good.
Nobody is.
I'm very excited about him. I will vote for him again as long as he doesn't take the Constitution and put it in a shredder. Okay? But he's not perfect. And it is okay for folks like us who are conservative, who are patriots, who want to see the best for our country, to constructively criticize a decision that he's making. Let's take this one, for example. The Dr. Oz endorsement in Pennsylvania. Who in your right mind, in everybody's right mind, would have been the stronger conservative in Pennsylvania? Kathy Barnett. Okay? She would have been a stronger conservative in Pennsylvania. And a lot of the rumors were the reason why he went for Dr. Oz is because he thought that Dr. Oz would be able to fundraise. And I do think that that's the same reason why he's going and supporting Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy is a California Republican. He's well connected within the party. But the thing is, okay, so what if he fundraises for the RNC? Where's that money going? We found out that Ronna McDaniel spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on flowers. How does that help us win? So who cares if he can fundraise? I want people who can win elections. I don't care how much money you can fundraise. I care how many votes you can get. I care how many ballots you can harvest at this point. I care if you love our country. I care if you fight for the people who are supposed to put you in power. And Kevin McCarthy, based off what you were telling me, those rumors about Maxine Waters, would rather make deals with Democrats than make concessions to America First Republicans. He would rather give this country to communists, then give it to people who want to put this country first. And that's why I can't help but criticize Trump's decision, but to double and triple down on Kevin McCarthy. This guy is toast. He can't lead. If he was a capable leader, he would have won this speaker vote in 2 or 3 votes. We are 7 votes in. It's not getting any closer. And look, I'm fine with the legislative branch being shut down. I'm cool with all that. But like, this
Gorka
is
was
ridiculous.
on the air. Yeah, not to interrupt you,
good.
but I mean, Gorka was on the on the air yesterday, and basically insinuated that McCarthy is the guy that, given the choice to, walk into an alpha male restroom, would probably walk into a female beta one. And what I mean was, like, he basically, in a very eloquent way, like Seb always does, said that McCarthy's a coward.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't go against Trump at all, but he said that McCarthy is a coward. And I agree with you. I think if we're going to say that it's great for them to have discourse on the floor, JR said that in a post today, and I said, yeah, but McCarthy's still a scumbag. It is great to have discourse. This is the political process playing out. It's great that 7 times he's been a no vote for speaker, but I think that the fact that 202 people in U.S. Congress could vote for Kevin McCarthy, and then to your point, in case, and this is a primary reason I just wanted to interject, and then I'll shut up, is that Black Hannity, there's a picture of him. Black Hannity is on Twitter, I think it was, and I was telling you about this. Maxine Waters came up to him. He's got the picture, and he said that basically Maxine Waters said, quit BITCHing about McCarthy. Just support him so everybody will vote for him. Something to that effect.
Yeah, and that's disgusting.
That's a yes man. That's a yes man. Like, why would we want that? Like, if we're trying to prevent, because at some point, we start electing and funding and supporting the same machine that just goes around in circles, accomplishes nothing, while it steals all our freedoms and imprisons our kids. And like, if that's what you want to spend your time doing, I mean, I'd just be soon, like, drop the mic right now, get rid of 1776, don't do anything, go home and join my kids, have a cold one and smoke 10 cigars. And when the bombs start dropping, pardon my language, I know I got 3,000 rounds in my walk-in closet.
There you go.
Like, what are we doing at some point? Like, if we all just go in circles, and this is all about, well, I love Shawn. Well, you know what? Shawn's a good friend of mine. But if Shawn went against the Constitution, I know a rock solid New Yorker like him. He'd say, Cordie Williams, if I did or he did, he'd go, read between the lines, Cordie.
Yeah.
We're not friends anymore. Like, in anybody, we would say that about anybody.
Yeah, and that's the point of, and I put up on Twitter this afternoon, because one of the big things that Republicans like to do, and this is just, again, self-reflection on how we behave as a whole, is we always get mad that the Democrats are always in lockstep and they never fight with each other, and Republicans can't get out of their own way. And look, in some ways, that's true. Sometimes we nitpick. But there are some times where we have to take a stand. When you know there's a wolf in sheep's clothing like Kevin McCarthy trying to have a lot of power here, right? When you know there's a guy like that that's not going to put your country first. No, it's not fighting with each other. It's not Republicans are in disarray. You have to understand, I would rather have a group of people who have 4 or 5 or 6 approaches to one problem. 4 solutions, 5 solutions, 6 solutions to one problem. And the best idea rises to the top, rather than the leader go, this is the way, and everybody falls in line, hive-minded, mob mentality, get in line and go. See, that's not the way America is. John Stuart Mill, I believe, Kevin, my co-host on LFA, always says this. I think it was John Stuart Mill. I'm not sure if it was him, but the only answer to bad speech and bad ideas is more speech and better ideas, right? So you have a bunch of bad ideas out there, or you have a bad idea, and if everybody gets in lockstep behind a bad idea and they just ram it through, that doesn't make the idea good. It just means that those people are sheep and they go along with anything. I'd rather get the group of people who sees a bad idea, like Kevin McCarthy, and says, hold on a second, this is a bad idea. I think Jim Jordan's a better idea. I think Chip Roy's a better idea. I think Byron Donald is a better idea. And let the best ideas win the day. This is called discussion. This is called debate. This is how this country was founded. The Declaration, the Constitution, all the amendments, the Bill of Rights, these weren't things that were done like this. Everyone got in lockstep and went. So pardon me if I tell everybody to calm the hell down. And when you say, well, Republicans are never unified. But we're not going to unify around something that's worth nothing. We want to unify around, we want to at least put our weight behind something good. And if we can't come to the conclusion, after all this time, everybody knew Kevin McCarthy was supposed to be the front runner for Speaker. Well, guess what? He doesn't have the votes. So either he's going to make a deal with Democrats because he doesn't want to appeal and appease the conservative Freedom Caucus members of the House of Representatives, then he is going to sell this party out. He's going to look at everybody who tried to work so hard to make sure that we took that majority in the House and say, you know what, I don't need you anyway. I'll just go make a deal with Maxine Waters, and I'll get 20 of her moderate Democrat colleagues, and they'll vote me in, and I'll be Speaker anyway.
Well, I mean, the fact that he is not backing down is very telling. It's very telling. And like, honestly, Shawn, as you were talking, I was just thinking back to all the people that I know that support Trump and love Trump like we do,
yep,
but are somehow supporting this decision. And then all the people like even DC Drano, I mean, people that have been at Mar-a-Lago recently are like not coming out against him in any way because they wouldn't do that.
No.
Right, that would be political. And I like DC Drano, but like, dude, even like a conservative that's been to Mar-a-Lago, like if that's going to take you off the Trump list and Trump's going to hate my guts just for asking questions about this, then I guess I'm not supposed to go to Mar-a-Lago again.
Right.
Right. And that's okay. I'll watch Paw Patrol with my kids and have a cigar and whatever, and I'll still vote for Trump. Right. But I'll just have a cigar in a different place that night. Right. Which I'm okay with that.
Yep.
And so, but it's the fact that people are coming out that have been to Mar-a-Lago recently, still going against McCarthy. Even Lauren Boebert said that today on the floor of Congress. She's like, hey, we need to get Donald Trump. I forget how she poised it or posed it. It was certainly more eloquent than I'm being right now. But she basically said, hey, even Donald Trump, our president that we love, like he should be not supporting this. He should be supporting Jim Jordan or somebody different. And, I think that when all these different people, including Sebastian Gorka, are now saying, hey, we need to move away from Kevin McCarthy, I think it's very telling. Now, could it be political theater? I certainly think it could. Yeah. All of it could. But regardless of how this turns out, this should show you, in my opinion, why, not that we give up on voting, not that we give up on our federal system, but I'll just say that what General Flynn said to me a long time ago, my iPhone's low, I got like 10%. Mm-hmm. The General Flynn said, and what I said, and I think I even heard you say, right, what a lot of us were saying that have any common sense, is the state, local, county level offices. At some point, I think that's going to be all we have left.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, do we try the ballot harvesting? Do we give up and stick our thumb up our tail? No. I think we do all the strategies that we've talked about on this show. And I think that this is very telling. I think the Kari Lake situation was very telling. Like, we need to go before those state level governments, local municipalities and county ones get infiltrated by a machine-like orchestration or cabal of corruption like we're seeing right now at the federal level. Yep. Like, if that's what this turns out being, I mean, God help us. Let's go where we can fight the battle and be most effective. And that may be what God is trying to reveal to us.
Yeah, go down locally, embrace federalism. Make governors, make your governor more powerful than the president. I mean, I know there's a lot of back and forth about kind of how Ron DeSantis is behaving lately and who he's surrounding himself with. And look, I don't like the rumors, but what I will say about his record and what he did for Florida was he embraced federalism. He made sure that the lockdowns and the overreaching tentacles of the Biden administration did not impact what was going on in Florida during the recovery, if you want to call it that, from the pandemic. He opened that state up. He took the mask mandates away. He made sure that education didn't groom children, and he did that through the state office and the power of the state office and the state legislature, and got that state going to the point where now they're receiving so many people. And that's the thing, right? Maybe we've determined that a blue state that we live in may be a lost cause. Well, then it's time for the people to pack the red states, because I got news for you. The next time there's a census, Florida is going to gain a crap ton of electoral votes because they have a massive population gain. And eventually the red states are going to wind up being, the 3, 4, 5 red states: Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, the Dakotas. They may not be appealing places to live now, but I mean, I'm going to Tennessee. It's a smaller city than New York, but we're going to be going there, and the place is up and coming, and there's a lot of people who are following. There's a lot of people who are leaving blue states and going to tax-friendly states like Tennessee or Texas or Florida, because it's easier to live there. Quality of life is better. The politics are better. There's more freedom. And if you pack the red states, Florida will wind up having more electoral votes one day than California. And now all of a sudden, where the Democrats bank on having New York and California on the electoral map in a presidential election, well, now Republicans are going to bank on Texas and Florida because massive population gains there, and those are the most populous states in the country. And that's the long game. And that's why I think a guy like Dan Bongino is so long on the United States. He says it all the time. He's long on the United States. He believes that we're going to come out of this. And that's because I think people are going to realize federalism is the way to do this. Focus on your state governments. Focus on your county governments. We'll keep participating in national politics, but if national politics continues to be this what show in Washington, D.C., then you can rely on friendly state legislatures and strong governors, the kind of governor that Kari Lake would be, the kind of governor that Ron DeSantis has been, the kind of governor that, to an extent, Kristi Noem has been, the kind of governor that Bill Lee in Tennessee has been, or Greg Abbott, to an extent, has been, where they're taking care of their people and they're shielding them from the Biden administration.
Yeah, I was going to say that about Abbott too, and Youngkin, of course.
Youngkin, yes.
I think, I mean, like ballers. And to your point, I just really learned, and I'm sure with the guys that you've been around, and I had to fix my phone because the power was dying. Yeah. But I think that the veil has been lifted, I think, on probably the innocence that you and I had about our country prior to us being involved in this and COVID happening and all
Absolutely.
that. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I did not know the swamp ran as deep as it actually runs. I can't believe. I mean, to the point where, it's involved in school board elections in this state.
Yeah.
Like you've got Democrat money influencing teachers unions to get involved and pull games with school board elections. That's how crazy this is getting.
And you wouldn't like that thought would never cross my mind. I would never think that, hey, this is happening. Like, we need to worry about this. Like, oh my God. I mean, it's getting just insane. And such to the point, I mean, when people start moving states in rapid numbers and people start homeschooling their kids more,
yep.
And you see these censuses that are done or polls that are done, these censuses that are done or polls that are done where they're getting the larger majority of people to say that their vote doesn't matter, or they don't believe in their country anymore. All these different studies and polls that we've seen over the last really 3 years, you probably could say even 9 years, 7 years. I mean, that's really telling. Even how much things have shifted, and I say this all the time, since 2001. And, I never thought that I would say that, today was just like the nail in the coffin for me regarding Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. For me, and I have friends that, kiss both their asses, and they've had him on shows, and they have him at events, and I know churches that have had him there, and I'm done, man. I'm done. I mean, these guys are cowards. How many times are we going to be, again, I'll say it, the abused making excuses for the abuser, and saying, like allowing things to get watered down. And I don't think people understand that every time we allow, oh, well, and I was guilty of it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, saying, oh, well, this guy's not going to win. And well, at least he's not as bad as this guy.
Right.
When that's our total strategy and that's what we bring to the table, pretty soon you have a bunch of Mitch McConnells and Kevin McCarthy sitting in a room.
Yes.
You can't get shit done because everybody's concerned about what they're getting out of it. Everybody's sold out or made a deal, and nobody can look in the mirror morally or ethically and with any ounce of character and say, I'm a good person and I just made a decision for the right reason.
Right. And I think once we start having to rely on the lesser of two evils, we're really walking into a really bad place. You spoke about one thing before about, being able to ask questions. If you want to ask questions about Donald Trump, you want to ask questions about his decision making, if you're going to get scolded for that, that's not necessarily a good thing. And I want to pivot real quick to, asking back in March of 2020, a man who was asking a lot of questions. His name is Paul Sperry. And he's back on Twitter. And just to show everybody the respect that I have for this man, it's now up on your screen. March 9th, he's talking about chloroquine phosphate. You see this? March 11th, he's talking about hydroxychloroquine and treating COVID-19. March 20th, the importance of zinc. March 21st, this is about 6 days into the 15 days to slow the spread, saying Dr. Fauci is mistaken. There, in fact, have been clinical trials on the efficacy of using chloroquine for treating patients with COVID-19. I mean, this guy got suspended from Twitter now. He's back, obviously, as you can see on your screen. But he was suspended from Twitter by Adam Schiff in November of 2020 because Adam Schiff claimed that Paul Sperry was spreading QAnon conspiracy theories. This is a guy who revealed the identity of the D.C. whistleblower, and for, the one from the first Trump impeachment, that if we say the name, we'll get banned off of all these platforms very quickly, so we can't do it. Except Rumble, where we're streaming, so hit the Rumble button over there, folks. And Getter as well. Getter, we're doing well. Hit that repost. Big numbers over there today. But this is Paul Sperry, and this comes to another point, that when you look at the tragedy that just happened on Monday Night Football, and I hope and pray that Damar Hamlin pulls through, because above all else, as conservatives, I would assume if you're watching this show that we're not just, pro-hype or pro-vaccine choice or anywhere, and we're not just anti-this or we're pro-life. And we don't want to see this young man lose his life, and he's currently fighting for his life, and it seems to be improving, but there's murky reporting going on there. But when you look at this outbreak, and I'm going to call it an outbreak, since the beginning of when the vaccines got rolled out, these cardiac events, whether it's a sudden cardiac arrest or it's heart arrhythmia, soccer players going down, people in the gym going down, kids going down. You said this to me just before the show started. How many Damar Hamlins are out there that we don't know about because he's not a safety for the Buffalo Bills that played on Monday Night Football? The point that I want to make, and you as a health practitioner, really, and a healthy person, and I know your views on the vaccine, but just on health in general, why is this happening? What is going on? And if this was something that was common and no big deal, as a football fan myself, I can say I've never seen anything like it. Why is this the first time this has happened on an NFL field? Why is this the first time that we're seeing it rampant on soccer fields? Why are we seeing it on college fields? What is going on?
Well, it's just like all the studies, and they're out there, the mainstream media. I think this is where we as Trump supporters need to stop looking at hey, are people against Trump? Because we're not. Like I said, still a diehard Trump supporter. I'd still vote for Trump. Nonetheless, we have to look at ultimately what our actions and our decisions are doing or not doing, right? Like, we know that Fox News, we know that a lot of these big networks, we know they're in bed with Big Pharma. We know that Big Pharma is in bed and bought politicians like an Adam Schiff, like a uh, the guy who's the guy from California. I know his name. I'm short for words today. Slowell.
Oh, Eric Swalwell. I call him his
He's from
flatulence.
Cal, right?
Yeah, he farted on
Yeah.
live TV. Yeah, his flatulence.
Yeah.
I call him
Flatulence. And he had an affair with what's her name?
Fang. Yes.
Fang.
Eric
There we go.
Swalwell slept with Eric Swalwell slept with a Chinese spy. Okay, her name was Fang, and just like the virus, she came from China.
I love it. How do you follow that up, man? How do you follow that up? Fang is almost like a cartoonish name in itself. I'm like, when I first heard that, I'm like, what a creative, like, is this real? I almost didn't believe it just because of her name, like Fang. It was weird. But at any rate, all these different guys that are getting paid off and bought at a state and federal level to make certain decisions. There's a guy named Richard Pan that is part of the state assembly here in California, had 1 million pictures with Hitlery. Big Pharma people have been visiting him all the time. Like, we know the deal. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm blown away that some of us are so almost ignorant. You have this side of people that maybe they got the shot, maybe they didn't, but they're conservative and they're pro-shot, pro-mask. Everybody needs to get a shot, but they're still conservative. They still voted for Trump. Or dude, it's all one family of corruption. And I don't see how people don't see that. The same people rigging the election are the same people that want Kevin McCarthy to get elected, are the same people that want you to take the jab and not do the horse dewormer, are the same people. Like, you're talking about one family, one incestuous family of corruption and demons and people that don't care about our kids, and the same people that are, sending kids and children into, sex slavery their entire life.
Yes.
So like nobody's talking about this. Nobody wants to say it and connect it. And the average layman can't see it all. And they're making decisions like donors that donated 10 grand to me are down the street in OC, donating money to a 33-year lobbyist named Scott Baugh. Like, that's how fragmented people are thinking, and they're not seeing it's all one cabal.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately, it's something that, look, I watched this Damar Hamlin thing happen on live TV, and all the commentators kept saying, and I was like, wow, you're getting close. They go, we've never seen this before. This has never happened before.
Yeah.
We've never seen this before. And I'm like, guys, Adam Schefter was saying this. And we've never seen a game stopped. We've never seen a player go down like that. We've never seen CPR on the field. And Adam Schefter was saying it. Ryan Clark, who played professional football, was saying it. Joe Buck was saying it. Troy Aikman was saying it. Radio hosts were saying it. Twitter users were saying it. We've never seen it. I said, you guys are so close. Now ask yourself what's changed. Nobody
but I think
wants
they
to
know.
They know. Oh, they know.
Right, 50, 70% know the paycheck is either that good, and this shows how many men don't have a sack anymore.
Yeah.
What did I say? It was very eloquent. I said it in March of June, probably one of the only eloquent things I've ever said in my life. But I'd rather lose my job.
No. Your name is Cordie Eloquent Williams. Okay.
Well, I'm honored, sweetheart. Thank you. No, like literally, I said, look, I'd rather lose my job than lose my soul.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about when these guys I'm in a rebuilding phase, almost lost my business, no joke, recovering right now. We're digging out of the trenches, right? We 100% are. And that's not that's not for any reason other than just saying, I stand by the statement that patriotism is not about what you get, it's about what you give up. And you're seeing less than 3% out there, Shawn, that are willing to do what you've done, what your girl's done, what I've done, what so many of our followers have done. And I mean, these guys, man, do they still have a sack? They're literally on the air and they have the opportunity to save children and kids and other people's Damar Hamlins that are their sons. And what about all the Damar Hamlins like we're not even talking about, that aren't even on the radar, that didn't even get the press? And there's some poor crying mom, grandmother, or son or daughter that lost their dad or their brother, and they're in tears and nobody even gives a crap about them, or that's the way they feel.
Yeah, no, and I have a name for this. I have coined it. I've used it several times on LFA TV. I call it Big Pharmageddon. That's what this is. It's Pharmageddon. Everybody's got to get hooked on something, you know. And when it comes down to this too, don't be healthy. We have a vaccine for that. We have a pill for that. We have a treatment for that. Take all the antibiotics. Take all the medications. Do what you got to do. Because you know what Time Magazine said recently? Exercise, physical fitness is rooted in white supremacy. Therefore, if you are physically fit, if you're exercising, they literally went as far to say running is only for white people. Because if a black person is running outside, they said it because they said if a black person is running outside, someone who sees the black person running will assume that they've committed a crime. They are saying that fitness is a white supremacist act. Therefore, if you engage in fitness, you pick up a kettlebell, you do a few push-ups, you jump on your pull-up bar, you run a mile, you're weightlifting, you're doing whatever it is you want to do, you're practicing whatever sport you're playing, you're on a bike, you're swimming in the pool, you're doing whatever it is. Staying physically fit, you're doing something so morally reprehensible, it could be equated to the Ku Klux Klan. Exercise has been rooted in white supremacy. Time Magazine, okay? It's Big Pharmageddon. They don't want you to practice good health. They don't want you to be healthy. Just like the government doesn't want you to succeed without their assistance. I always do it this way. A dog that gets nothing but treats for doing tricks becomes fat, lazy, and useless, and it only knows how to do one thing. Sit, roll over, play dead, do whatever it is. Right? If you teach that dog how to do something useful, you want to hunt, you want to maybe, what are they called? The sheepdogs, the herd, right? They have a useful skill. Well, that'll help you make your life. They become independent. They become healthier, more use. But a dog that only gets treats for sitting down, rolling over, and all you do is feed them treats, they don't get a real meal because they don't do anything useful. Fat, lazy, and useless. The trick that many people are falling for right now is voting for Democrats or going along with the Democrat line, because the treat that they're being given is some sort of either drug, handout, entitlement. They feel good. They get a pat on the back, woke points. This is what we're up against on the culture war battlefield. And it all comes back to what kind of market is Big Pharma looking for. The reason why they're pushing these transgender surgeries for kids, double mastectomy for teenagers, right? The reason why they're doing that, because it's a billion-dollar industry. The reason they want you hooked on those opioids is because there's a lot of money in it. They don't care if you feel pain or not. There's a reason why they want to ban NAC. This stuff right here. I have it. This stuff, NAC. N-acetylcysteine. It's there. Here you go, Instagram. N-acetylcysteine right there.
Oh, is that Now Foods? Did you get Now Foods?
That is, no, the Vitamin Shop.
Okay, I was going to be so proud of you. The fact you got NAC, I'm still proud of you.
NAC is unbelievable. You have a cough, you have anything going on in your chest, you take this, you're done in a day. It's not a drug. It's amino acid. They're going to ban it. They want to ban it. You understand?
Insane.
Because it works. Because they're not making any money on it. Big Pharmageddon. That's what I call it. Because that will be how this world ends. That'll be how your freedom ends. Vaccine passports, injecting yourself with things that give you myocarditis, which could lead to things that happened to Damar Hamlin, among others. Getting hooked on opioids, safe injection sites, all of these different things to get you hooked on something that they're producing. No, thank you. No, thank you. It's big pharma. They want your money. They want to be in your life. And I call it big pharmageddon.
No, I think that is, I think that's the only way to say that, buddy. There's no other way to say it. I think that it's I mean, Bill Gates kind of forecasted for us, I would say, gosh, whenever it was, I think it was early 2000s, yep, what the intention was. I think the connection at that time that we didn't make was how embedded all these worlds were.
Yes.
And I think people are still struggling with that because, I know real sensible, amazing people that are part of my family, and they've 70% supported me, and they're coming over to the Freedom Line, but I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump because of his tax returns. And I just want to say, are you effing kidding me right now?
It's sad.
Do you know that the same people that are trying to expose him for his tax returns exploited the laws in the same way because those are the laws? And he said it very poignantly when he said it from a debate stage where he said, well, Hillary, you had 20 years to change these tax laws and you did nothing.
Right.
I would say that as another side to the whole Kevin McCarthy conversation we had a few minutes ago. Like, the guy's had 10, 11, 12 years to do something of credibility, moral conviction that benefited California and benefited the country. And the guy's done a big donut, big nothing. Turd. I'm sure there are different saturating, moisturizing densities to diarrhea. But if you were to identify one for Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, it would probably be the most fluid one that you would find on the side of an Alabama porta-john somewhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what scumbags these guys are.
And just to kind of close on this big pharma point here, Matt Pierre 81 on Rumble says the number one rule of sales: return customers are more profitable, and they are. Don't be a return customer for these people. Break free. Don't subscribe to the nonsense. Let's close with this. Rogan O'Hanley, DC Drano, 11 hours ago on Twitter, and I'll put this on your screen just so we can close with this piece of information. Rogan O'Hanley, today I received this message from a former NFL player. So many current and former players are scared of what this vaccine is doing to their friends, and they're not allowed to discuss it publicly. I promised him I would be his voice, but my God, what is happening to us? This is horrible. The message, 1:21 in the morning. If I die from a sudden heart attack or drop dead, I 100% believe it was from the COVID vaccine I received in 2021. I want you to be my voice and fight for me if I somehow pass. This may seem extreme, but recently I've had more than a few people I've known to be healthy individuals just drop out of nowhere with no explanation. The vaccine being the common thing they all had in common. I'm not saying...
Shawn, can you stop for a second? Because I want them to see, if you don't mind, brother. I want you guys to see what DC Drano put right below that. Not to get off the individual that is scared and frightened over the jab, but DC Drano just made an eloquent point. I want you guys to see these are people that are at Mar-a-Lago, and look what he's saying about Kevin McCarthy below that message, right?
Yes.
It's basically saying, once again, if Kevin McCarthy had actually done a good job in the midterms, he wouldn't have this problem, and it goes on, right? I'm only pointing that out, guys, because, I think, for me, Shawn, I know you would agree, we want people to see how complex these issues are and that they're represented. I think there's blood on the hands of so many elected politicians.
Agreed.
For what Trump was told, what he wasn't told around Operation Warp Speed, around just these kids that are falling over. these young kids. And imagine if that's your kid.
Yeah.
Think back to the middle of COVID when you said bye to somebody through plexiglass. Or I remember my office manager, she was crying on my shoulder because they wouldn't let her go in the room to say goodbye to her grandfather.
Unreal.
She had to say, like, she literally had to say bye to him on a phone. They wouldn't let her go in the room. And then eventually she worked her way into the room. It was plexiglass. Couldn't hold his hand, couldn't hug him, couldn't say bye to him. And then imagine on his side, this is a dying man, and he's got to go out alone. Like this is the stuff we don't think about, and that needs to be connected and talked about more.
Yep. And on that note, we are at 10:10 or 10:11 here on the East Coast, 7:11 there on the West Coast out in California as we await another day of drama. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, Dr. Cordie Williams? Where can they find you?
You can go to Cordie Williams, www.cordiewilliams.com. I was about to give you my email address. www.cordiewilliams.com. And you can follow me at DrCordiew. If you can't find me, or at Dr. Cordie Williams, if you can't find me, it's the Zucks.
Yeah.
And his merry band of morons.
Yeah, it's not nice. So get over there. Everybody who's watching on Instagram, hit that little eyeball or the arrow there and follow all of the folks that are on here. Give everybody a quick follow. Everybody who's watching on YouTube, everybody who's watching on Facebook, everybody who's watching on YouTube, everybody who's watching on Getter, and everybody who's watching on Rumble, please do us a favor, share this show, hit the Rumble button, the like button, and the repost button. It really helps. This was our most watched episode to date as the Unalienable Right continues to grow, and we are very excited and grateful for all the support. Thank you so much, folks, for watching and listening. Please share the show. Let everybody know how much you enjoyed it. Let us know how much you enjoyed it as well. And if there's anything you'd like to change, we'll work on it as we continue to grow this show. And Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.
God bless you guys.